Hello everyone and welcome back to Championship Formula. I'm your host Casey, and I just want to say thank you everyone for your support on the last video. It means a lot to me. All the comments and the likes, I love it. I love the feedback, and it's going to help me grow. So thank you for your support. Anyways, this is the Redskins Free Agency review, and let's hop right into it. Let's see how they did last season. The Redskins went 13-3 last season. They had a multitude of different issues on the offensive side and defensive side, but mainly for the offense, they didn't have any weapons, and quarterback play was abysmal. And defensively, they had an issue with the weak side linebacker, the opposite safety of Landon Collins, and the cornerback depth was also an issue as well. Overall, though, last season, I think the main issue was the offensive side of the football. If they could just perform a little bit better, I think the defensive side would actually been a whole lot better off. But quarterback play was atrocious. Towards the end of the second half, Dwayne started improving. He started to look a lot better and more comfortable in the pocket. And the team started doing a whole lot better off. Anyways, let's just hop right into their free agency and see how they did to improve their team. Richard Rodgers, tight end. So Rodgers, the tight end, will be added depth, and he's a welcomed addition in the blocking department for that position group. Unfortunately, though, the receiving side, he's only caught 13 passes since 2016, so not going to be your receiving tight end. Peyton Barber, running back. Peyton Barber was a good running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He will create competition in that running back room, and it'll be interesting to see which of the 5 running backs will have starting roles. Cornelius Lucas, offensive tackle. So the journeyman offensive tackle is with his 5th franchise now, and he did his best work last season with Chicago as their swing tackle. This is great depth, though, for the team, with Trent Williams being on the trade block. He could definitely fill in for a season and perform very well. Kendall Fuller, cornerback. Kendall Fuller is coming back to Washington after being traded in 2017 for Alex Smith to assume his starting role with Dunbar leaving for Seattle. Kendall Fuller can play in the slot, the outside, and even free safety if he's asked to. I'm sure most fans will be happy and excited that he's back in the Washington Redskins lineup. Wes Schweitzer, guard. A nice swing lineman for Atlanta, Schweitzer looks to create competition on the offensive line. With Eric Flowers leaving, the offensive line has a hole at the guard position. Schweitzer is a very versatile player and can play both guards, so expect him to have some sort of role coming in the offense next season. Thomas Davis, linebacker. So Thomas is now 37 years old, and he's reaching the end of his career. But with the Redskins hiring his former head coach and their defense needing a plan in place for Reuben Foster's recovery, it's a pretty smart move. His leadership and his experience will be helpful for this young defense, and look for him to be in the starting lineup. Kevin Pierre-Louis, linebacker. So Pierre-Louis is mainly a special teams player, but he has the potential to take some reps at the outside linebacker position. He does play well in space and exceptionally well in coverage, so expect him to have some sort of role on third down situations. Sean Davis, safety. In 2018, Sean Davis made major improvements with the Steelers, but unfortunately for him in 2019, the former Steelers safety was out the entire season with a shoulder injury. Sean will look to compete for that starting role at safety opposite side Landon Collins. J.D. McKissick, running back. So this is the Redskins' 5th added running back to the roster, and it creates a lot of competition. It'll be interesting to see who will still be on the roster by the time training camp and preseason roll around. Bryce Love and Darius Geis have injury problems. Adrian Peterson is not getting any younger, and both Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick aren't exceptionally well, but they're good backups. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up taking the starting roles, who ends up being a third down back. Logan Thomas, tight end. So Logan Thomas is another depth guy. He was a converted quarterback, and I project him to be more of a backup and a project for them to work on. more than a starter, but if he does have any sort of role, it'll be in the passing game, not so much in the run game. So I would look for the Redskins to possibly add another tight end, either in the draft or possibly at the end of free agency. Cody Latimer, wide receiver. The 27-year-old Cody Latimer is added depth and another big body target for Dwayne Haskins. Cody had his best season yet with the Giants with 24 receptions, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Look for him to be more of a backup receiver, but have some sort of role maybe in the red zone. Kyle Allen, quarterback. Acquired in a trade with the Panthers for a 5th-round pick, quarterback Kyle Allen started 12 games last season, throwing for 3,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Kyle didn't play very well last season, and a lot of it stemmed from not having very many weapons and having a very weak offensive line, being sacked 46 times in those 12 games. With him reuniting with his old head coach and staff, he could have a chance to compete for some starting time if Dwayne's play starts to fall off next season. So the Redskins didn't spend any money on big name targets. They just focused on adding depth all around their roster, and that is just average in my opinion. I really feel like they needed to focus on getting a big name offensive target like Emmanuel Sanders or Robbie Anderson or Melvin Gordon. I wish they would have, but it is what it is. I understand that they're in the rebuild mode and they're not in a win now mentality. They would want to, I hope, develop Dwayne Haskins to let him see where he can go. They did use a 1st-round pick on him last season, but nowadays in this league, if you don't do well the first season, you're out. So I don't know if they're going to spend the 2nd overall pick on Tua Tagovailoa, but I think it would be a mistake in my opinion. The whole quarterback draft class is too scary for me to waste such a vital pick on when next season there's going to be way better options for you. If they do decide to pick Chase Young at number 2, I feel like at 34 they should get a guy like Denzel Mims or Michael Pittman. I think those guys are my dark horse picks. And if they decide to go defense, I would say AJ Terrell or Cameron Dantzler. But if it were me and I was the GM of the Redskins, I would trade back from the number 2 spot. I would trade back and try to aim for somewhere around 10 to 7 in that range, or even the Chargers at number 6. I would do that so then I could get a guy like either Isaiah Simmons, who is basically the 2nd best defensive player in the whole draft, or a guy like Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson, another receiver. I would like them to double dip in the 1st round and the 2nd round. Receiver, or on the defensive side, defense, just to focus on making one group exceptionally better. I understand if they do decide to keep Chase Young at number 2, but it just doesn't make sense to me that they have such a stellar defensive line. They've invested in it heavily, and they have other holes that could be addressed, like corner and safety and weak side linebacker with Reuben Foster being out. Like, it just makes sense to me. So in my opinion, I think that's what they should do. But if they don't, it's not really the end of the world. I think Chase Young is going to end up being a star in this league. And I think the worst thing that the Redskins could do is get a guy like Tua Tagovailoa. But we'll see. I think they should wait and let Dwayne develop, because he did end up progressing a lot towards the end of this season. But that's my Redskins free agency review. What did you guys think? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Let me know down below. And thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. We're going to do the Lions, so be prepared for that one. And this has been the Championship Formula, signing off.